to have the fabulous, amazing Rachael Botfield, podcast manager, with me today on the business spotlight. And yeah, that's right. We're going to put her business under the spotlight because look, I just want to inspire you to see like there's other people doing other things out there. There's not like a linear way to success. And just like me, I worked in advertising in a regular office for many moons before I went out on my own. And Rachel's doing the same thing. And also there are professions out there are services out there that, let's face it, probably didn't exist when we all started to work. So I want you to go, oh wow, gosh, that's an interesting business, and I want to hear more about it. And zip the lip, Elaine. Here we go. Here is Rachel. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Elaine. It's lovely to be here chatting with you. Podcast. I know it's something that I never even thought existed I did think podcasts existed, but I mean, in terms of doing this as an actual job or a business, it's and like you say, there's so many businesses out there that since I became like in the online world 3 years ago is just amazing me at what, the skills people have and what they're able to help other people with.
Brilliant. Honestly, I can't wait to hear more, which is why I'm going to ask you. Why did you start your business? Why? What led you to this moment?
Well, I got laid off during COVID, like a lot of people. I had been kind of changing my job for the few years before that. I used to work in events with my dad for a long time, and we traveled everywhere across the world, and it was difficult with the kids being small. And my husband has also got a random unsociable hour job. He's a sound engineer, and he does a lot of sport now, so he's away a lot as well. So I decided I was going to change my job. Couldn't get a job in marketing that wasn't in the city centre near where I am that involved not being able to pick the kids up from wraparound care. So I found a job as a PA in a local financial firm. And I had a lovely, lovely boss, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do, really. But um, after a year, I got moved to the event department. They wanted to put on financial events. But then, unfortunately, that was January 2020. So, as we all know, COVID killed the events industry pretty much. I mean, I know it's thankfully coming back now, but as it was a very new thing in their business, it was something that in March, I got furloughed and then made redundant because they just weren't possible. And obviously, because it was a very fledgling thing that was happening. So I was a bit like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And then I discovered virtual assistants and went down that route. And like I met the awesome Hayley Hudson, host of the VA Lounge, and I got my first client there, and it was great. And one of my other friends started a business, Lisa Murphy, around the same time, and she was really supportive. And I did some work with her, and it was there that I came across podcasts because she had some podcast episodes she wanted edited. And I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. Many moons ago, I did a media degree and at college, so I knew how to edit video and stuff like that. So and then I discovered the whole world of business podcasting, and there was other people doing it, found there was podcast managers or podcast producers that were doing all of these things. And I have always loved like media and marketing. I've always found it very interesting. And like I always wanted to work kind of in television or broadcasting previously. So this felt a little bit like that, like because podcasting is a lot like radio in its, in a sense. So I just really loved it and enjoyed it. And then I was like, right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do podcast management. Then I decided that's what I did. I kind of changed all my clients over from virtual assistant clients. I was kind of working with people with their social media and their content over to podcasting. And then here I am now.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh, so I love hearing people's journeys. And oh, that is fascinating. So also what I find really interesting about what we do is that quite often what we do on paper or as our LinkedIn headline or, you know, what we tell people. So, you've introduced yourself today as a podcast manager, but I bet when people work with you, something else happens to their business. Would that be true? What do
Yeah.
clients find? happens when they start working with you? Maybe it's just they have time back. What happens?
Yeah, I think that time is a big factor as to why people and want to have somebody. I mean, you're right, podcast manager is quite a I can never quite fixate on the right term, because me personally, for my business, I do focus a lot on the production elements, and it is doing the editing, uploading all the tech parts that can take the time, because podcasting, if you've got the time to do it, same with a lot of things in your business, a lot of business owners are more than capable of doing those things. It's just the time element for them to be able to learn the different software, and also not being completely entrenched in that world can make a difference, because it's something that in your zone of genius you would notice quite quickly. So yeah, I think time and having some guidance. So I've been doing a few kind of, I guess, strategy sessions with some clients, and people who either have a podcast already, and they're just wanting a new season, and it just helping guide them towards how to make that season really relevant for their ideal client, and how they can move forward. And then also a big part of that has been suggesting the type of tools and things that you can use, and showing people what's out there. I've spent a lot of time researching and trying out different tools the last few years. So I think it's always nice to have that expertise, so someone else doesn't have to go through all of that process. Really, I can go, right, actually this one, obviously there's an element of testing it for themselves, but I think that that is, having someone else give you that advice, I think is quite valuable, to know that they can move on knowing that they've got the right type of tech to support them in their
Yeah,
podcast.
definitely, definitely. Gosh, you do so much, like tech, production, editing, strategy, but it all makes sense, because I think quite often, people think, oh, I need to do a podcast. It will be great. It's my evergreen aspect of my business. You need your prime asset based tool. So it's either going to be a blog, a podcast, or a YouTube um, channel. And what do you feel more aligned to? And I think then people just get stuck. And your podcast is amazing. Like, you give so much information away on your podcast. I just imagine working with you would be just even a next level, of just taking that pressure off somebody. Which leads me to my next question, that I wonder, like, is there any common issue that crops up when people start working with you, that they go, oh God, I didn't even realize that that was a problem. Maybe you just touched on ideal client. Like, so maybe they're not, I don't want to put words in your mouth now. Here I go anyway. But maybe they are like, oh gosh, the reason that their last season wasn't a success or whatever is because they weren't so clear about the outcomes that they wanted from their podcast, or maybe something completely different. Maybe they just don't have a good mic, or like, is there something, like, what do you think is the common thing that you notice, like, oh yeah, that's the issue that a lot of my clients struggle with, that I help them overcome?
I think the amount of time it takes to actually to put the podcast together, and exactly what's involved in all the different steps. So I worked with a lady, actually she won my prize draw, Sharon Luca, and she launched her podcast. But it's an idea that she'd been sitting on for a while, and then obviously being able to find the time. But she felt like accountability was a really good, having that accountability. So having somebody there that is going to support you. We had calls every other week, and they got kind of shorter calls towards, as we got towards the end of the pod. But obviously, the launch is the initial hardest part, because you're putting everything together. You're editing the episode, you're making sure that you have your podcast hosting platform, everything's connected up, ready to distribute everywhere. You've got all your marketing material already prepared and things like that. So there's a lot of work on the front end to do before it goes to status quo, I guess. So I think having that accountability and being able to ask questions in terms of me laying out, for example, where to record, how to how I'm going to edit, and all those type of things, and be there to support her to get those things done. So I think having somebody there and the accountability has been like a big thing for somebody moving forward with their podcast.
Oh, brilliant. What part do you enjoy the most? What's the part of your business that you love?
I love the editing and putting everything together. That's my favorite bit, like that production part of getting somebody's audio and helping them put together, maybe their intro and their outro and the music and the trailer, and helping them get everything set up and to be put out there. That's my favorite bit. That's why my most a lot of my services are focused on that side. And I also know it is the bit that is quite time consuming as well, because it is, depending on what style the episodes are in. A lot of podcasts that I edit are interview style, have a host and an interviewer, like a guest, kind of what we're doing. But it does sometimes depend on the guests and whether they're nervous or whether they had any interruptions and things like that. But it's just, I don't know, I think it's something like taking someone's idea and helping them have it in the best possible way and get it out there for them, really. So that's just what I like doing.
Oh, sounds amazing. You're like an audio doula.
Yeah.
I just love it.
One of my clients actually, we were editing one of her episodes and we wanted to cut some clips out, and then I did that and she approved the edit, and she said, "Oh, you're like a podcast neurosurgeon," which I really loved. I should have done a post or something about that, but I really loved that was like a podcast neurosurgeon being able to take out little bits.
Yeah.
You're very proud.
This is it.
Because editing, I mean, everybody can edit, but it can be quite a skill. I just enjoyed, that's a bit that I enjoy. So I felt quite proud that someone's able to, take some bits out and it not affect the episode, because sometimes that can happen if you over edit something. It just doesn't sound quite as natural, especially with a conversational type podcast. You don't want it to sound jarring and things, so it's taking those things into consideration when you edit.
Brilliant. That's what I'm going to refer to you from now
on. Or a doula.
Yeah, or a doula. So you do both. You do. Yeah. So you literally.
That's very good as well, Elaine. You're good at coining podcasting.
I love it. Naming ceremonies, like you do the whole lot.
Yeah.
I love it. Come here, tell me in business, like, who inspires you the most?
Well, my friend Hayley Hudson does. I've just come back from an event in May on the VA Lounge by the Sea, and I know we were talking before we hit record. I started out as a VA. I'm not. I suppose I'm still very close with a lot of the people that I've met in the VA Lounge, because they've been incredibly supportive and great over the years, and it's so lovely to still stay connected with them. So Hayley has like a coffee club every week, and I go there and connect with them. But she is so passionate about what she does. She always wants to help people, and that's, this VA Lounge by the Sea has been born of her love of wanting to help VAs and create a community that is, keeping everyone sane and helping them. And so she's like really, really inspiring to do that. And I want to, that's what I kind of want to do with my podcast, in terms of helping. I know that not everyone can afford to outsource or hire somebody to come and help them with bits or parts of all their podcasts. So the aim of the podcast is to help people that if you listen to it or, read some of my content, you could do it yourself. There are ways to be able to do it yourself. So I want to be able to, so my version of success of that podcast is knowing that hopefully it's helped somebody, move forward with their podcast. So that's like what I'd like to to do and give back, like Hayley gives back to a lot of the community with her kind of time and advice and things.
Oh, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. And you are doing that because I know like we've talked about podcasts before and mine is
Well,
still
that's
in
your awesome
gestation. I'm
yeah
still
gestation. But your episode, you came on, if everyone hasn't listened to it, Elaine came on and shared her awesome top 5 tips on how to make an impact on LinkedIn, which you must go and listen to immediately after this and listen to all of your wonderful advice.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. But yeah, I'm just saying to you that you're already doing what you want to do. Certainly I can attest to that. Okie dokie, lemon cokey. What advice? You know, like I just I think podcasts are a great idea, particularly in terms of like that evergreen content. Um, so, but what I kind of want to ask you about is like you're in the business of helping other businesses and you need to generate clients. So
Mhm.
how do you do that? Like, do you have a way that you use to attract clients? What like how are you growing your business?
I'd say the main thing that I do is mainly speaking to people. It's going out and networking and getting to know lots of different business owners. I mainly work with women in business like you, and I also we are part of the same wonderful WIBN network, um, which I absolutely love. Joined. I first came across it April last year and I joined in September, and it has been brilliant. I've met you. I've met the lovely shout out to Jenny French as well, who was the person who invited me initially to WIBN. And I found, combined with the people that I've met through the VA lounge as well, I found a really great group and community of women that I can, speak to and help me with my business. And everyone is very supportive in the group and things like that. So that is, I would say, that is probably getting out there and speaking to people. I've tried to go to different events, in-person events as well, as some that are local to me. So I think that actually that's probably, well, actually I know that is the thing that makes the biggest difference in my business, is actually going out there and speaking to people, lots of different people.
Yeah, well, you build up that know, like, and trust
Mhm.
when you talk to people because that's what they need. Like, there's like just like me, and there's a load of LinkedIn experts and a load of content strategy experts, and there's a lot of podcast managers out there, but you are the perfect podcast manager for certain people, and
Mhm.
they will know that by talking to you. So you're dead right. It is so important to show up um, and and do that, you know.
Mhm.
So you really are like at almost like the beginning of your business in many ways.
Yeah.
But you still are at the next level because like quite often what I say to people is, you know, no matter what level of business that you're at, whether you recognize it or not, you have achieved something. Even if you started it yesterday, you
Yeah.
still have started it since yesterday, yeah?
Yeah.
And so there's going to be, you might be like, oh, Elaine, like, I'm still in build mode or grow mode.
Mhm.
But still you're at the next level, like whether you like it or not, you know?
Yeah.
So if you were to look back, even to what you would consider as a previous level, what advice would you have for either your former self or for people out there, to say like, yeah, like this was great advice, or this was my experience, and
Mhm.
don't forget that, or don't make that mistake, or here's something that I got to share with you
Yeah.
to help you get to the next level.
I think when I first started, and I was a VA, I wasn't quite sure what I really wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work for myself. I didn't want to go back to an employed role. So it took me some time to figure out. I mean, obviously, then it was podcasting that I wanted to do, but it because I was unsure about what things to to offer my services to people. And my friend Lisa, who gave me a lot of VA, has given me a lot of work with her business, which she was starting, which is going amazingly. And she said the same thing as you about, well, she was absolutely, I joke that she was my unofficial agent, because she recommended me as a VA to everybody. And I would say pretty much all of my clients to start with came from people that Lisa knew, which I was so massively grateful. And and she was saying, the same. So I'm thinking 6 months on, I'm like, oh, I haven't got any more clients. So, but you've got one or two clients, and you've done that. And I think that reflection piece as well, and what you were saying a few weeks ago on LinkedIn about celebrating your wins in that respect, because I think that it's so easy not to do and to forget how far you've come, even if you've only started yesterday. And I know that the first 18 months was a massive learning curve. I've never been in the online business world before. Never run my own business before, all the social media and aspect. I'd done some qualifications in marketing and media, but it's very different to actually putting it in practice and seeing it in real life, as we know with everything. That's very different, the way that we want it to be and the way that it actually goes. Very different things. And taking that time to reflect and being kind to yourself in that respect, because you can only do so much. And I think that I would, if I was talking back to my earlier self in my business, would be, be kinder to yourself, and take stock of what you've achieved. Because I'm still guilty of doing it now, but as you inspired, Elaine, the other week I was like, actually, yeah, I have managed to change my business from VA work to podcasting. I do have some podcast clients, because at one point sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm a fake business because I haven't got all the clients that I want, or you haven't done that yet. But I think that you can, once you realize those things, it really does help you move forward for the future, I think.
Oh
I'm doing a lot
yeah,
of hand
exactly.
gestures today.
No, you're dead right. And I think like more of us need to talk about that. I before we chatted today, I had another meeting where we were talking about accountability, and I answered all the questions in terms of what I had achieved that I had set out for myself, but I didn't achieve other things. And then what I shared was like, I am achieving great success right now, and but I also had to share that despite that, of course, other shit hit the fan, and yeah,
Yeah.
like I didn't sleep last night, my daughter was up and down, and that like it's not always, rosy in the garden, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it takes time, and then once you go beyond that point, it takes resource and money to grow your business. So once you get the money in, then you can start investing it to make it grow faster, either with resource of people helping you to do that, or the resource of ads helping you to do that. But that's the way you scale, so. And I just wish more people were honest about that. And like we are doing brilliantly, And so, yeah, but also you're dead right. You have to celebrate that success, because people go towards the finish line, not away from the start line. And they want to hear about your success because they'll come towards you, So,
Mhm.
and they'd be dead right too as well. So, awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. Tell me, like, is there anything that you so this is another advice kind of question, for other people. So again, just to kind of tee this one up, to line this one up. Um, one of my things with my clients, that sometimes actually one of my clients admitted to me that when she started working with me and I said there isn't one way to succeed, she was like, oh, give me my money back. Because she just wanted, there's so many people advertise like, oh, like there's just one way, it's my way, la 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 la. So
Mm.
whereas because I worked for many years in advertising as a generalist, I suppose, I know there is actually not one way like to succeed. And that's actually something I'm very passionate about, that people understand that it just depends. And so this is why I ask that question of others, because quite often there might be a strategy that you used from getting where you started to where you are now, or where you want to get to next, that you are just like, no, that didn't work. And I think it's good for other businesses to hear that, because the thing about it is lots of different things will work for them. That's a
Yeah.
very long-winded way of asking you.
Well, the other year, so 2022, so that was in my second year of business. I was doing my podcast, I was doing my 3 or 4 posts a week, and I was, putting everything out there. Didn't have an email newsletter then. I was like hearing crickets, like everyone's going, oh yes, podcasting and love, but I wasn't actually speaking to anybody. I wasn't really actively networking or actively speaking to anybody new. I had the coffee club that I was going to, but that was more of a sanity kind of group in ways to help more to do with like business and stuff rather than generally because they're all VAs. But I just was thinking, well, what am I doing wrong? And I thought, well, I'm just not speaking to anybody. I was finding it very hard to engage on LinkedIn as well, because I was trying to do that. And I think because for me personally, I prefer to have a coffee chat with somebody. So if somebody new connects with me and they message me, or I find someone I want to connect with, or I go to a networking meeting, I've not really spoken with them properly before, I will always suggest a coffee chat, because I feel like that's the best way to get to know somebody. Because I find it very hard to just start following somebody on LinkedIn and start insightfully commenting on their stuff. Maybe the odd time, but I'd be sat there like, I have no idea what I want to write. I don't want to sound disingenuous. I don't want to sound this. So I was like, and then so from then I decided to really challenge myself to go and meet new people and do lots of networking. So 2023. Well, it started December. I was part of a coaching course, and they had an awards event. And I did actually get nominated for an award. I didn't win it, but I got nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year, which was very lovely. So I started there, and that's actually where I met my podcast partner in crime, Sarah, who I do run a free podcast community with. So that was great. So that was a start of going out and meeting new people, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Like I said earlier, it's been the thing that has it's moved my business forward, and it's moved my podcast as well, because I find that my podcast works really well, especially when I meet people that want to know a lot of big questions. I was like, how do I start? And I do have those questions. So I find that nice to be able to recommend them. They can go and enjoy that like free resource if they want to, take that further themselves. So I think that you don't just focus on social media and doing your posts and think, why is nobody speaking to me? And also I found this year as well, and that's taken a bit of time as well, is that I feel very comfortable now commenting and going on to people's LinkedIn and stuff. And I'm in year 3 of my business. It was year 3 in February. So don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't feel that natural to start with, because it's taken me all this time to really get to grips with LinkedIn and feel comfortable going out there and speaking to people, having coffee chats and engaging with their content in a meaningful way. So it does take time, but definitely don't just hide behind social media, or whichever one it is. Don't hide behind it and expect people to come to you, because they won't.
Yeah, good for
So you
you.
need to, share.
Yeah, good for you. That is great advice. I always say one of my mantras is act like a human in social media.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
why
almost
it
like going,
really
yeah,
helps.
here, look at me, look at
Yeah.
this. Bye.
High five, high five.
Yeah.
That's why, when
Yeah.
you got to know people that you didn't know, which is the same situation on social media, then it almost was like teaching you, okay, in real life, this is what I do. Okay. On social
Yeah.
media, that's what I do. And
Shifting that mindset, because I think,
yeah,
well, towards networking, I had the kind of mindset of, okay, it's sales. I have to go in and I have to sell myself. And, and I was like, well, I don't, as everybody says, everyone's like, don't want to do sales. It's really icky, but it's not. I think that that's that perception of the car salesman that's shoving it down your throat, and that is just not how it should be done. And so I think with that perception, you need to change that, shift it. So that's what I did. And then once I kind of got over that, I found it so much more easier and realized it's completely not at all like that. And, then that's massively helped.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. Okay. What is your business dream for the next year? Let's say we're talking this time next year. What are you going to be telling me about?
Um, well, I'd love to be helping more clients with their podcasts. And I have a free podcast community that I started, the West Midlands podcast community that I started with my friend Sarah. Although we do meet up virtually every month, we do hold meetup events in around the West Midlands. And I would love to see, I'd love that community to grow as well. It's a community that's for anyone that is passionate about podcasting, that either wants to start one, has one already, or kind of like me that works in the industry, because there's a couple of people that are podcast managers. But it's just a really nice place to go, same with networking, meeting other women in business, sharing those your challenges and all those kind of things. So with the community, obviously being specific to podcasting, it's really nice to have those chats with people specifically about podcasting. So I would love to see that grow as well. That would be a great thing in the next year. So yeah.
Yay. Okay, tell me, like, how can people work with you? Because I want to put, like, when I do all the text for this, saying like how amazing this conversation is, I want to make sure that when I'm describing your lovely self and how people can work with you, that I drop the links so that they can click on them. So tell me, how can people work with you?
So I offer a strategy session, which is a 90-minute session. And this can be anything from, if you have your podcast idea already sorted, but you just need some help and figuring out tech or how to move forward, or maybe you haven't got your idea formed and you want to figure that out together with somebody who can give you some advice along the way. So really, it's a session that you can ask anything that you want. I record the sessions as well, so you get a copy of that, so no one has to like frantically take notes, which I find sometimes makes you lose your train of thought. But so yeah, those kind of sessions, if you wanted to start a podcast or already have one and you want to figure out ways how to grow and move forward with it. And then I offer different levels of service to people who want to launch a podcast, helping you get set up with all the tech on the platforms. And then depending on what level of service or advice you'd like, I can help. I don't want to say hand holding like you're stupid, but like being there to support you, holding your hand.
That's okay to say, Rachel. That's okay.
Holding your hand, being a cheerleader all the way through to the end of your season, or if it's weekly, carrying that on. And then also I can help with promotional marketing materials to get those clips and captions and things out there for your audience too, because that it also equally as important is the promotion side of things, because you created this awesome content, you need to then not just post it once and run away. You need to be able to, like we talked about, being an evergreen content, is reuse and repurpose all that content, and I can help produce those things as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay.
As little or as much as
go
you
click
need.
on those links, people. Go click on those links. This woman is amazing. She is going to gestate your like a surrogate, really? Did I go there? A doula, birth your podcast. And then she is going to turn her hand to being a neurosurgeon. So, like, there is nothing this woman does not do in relation to podcasts. Thank you so much for chatting to me today on the Business Spotlight, and hopefully inspiring people to move forward in their business and maybe start a podcast.
Thank you so much, Elaine.
Bye.